For me, mental minimalism is to simplify your life and to make it so easy that you don't have any external things that harm your brain in that way that you're always overstimulated. So I tend to be a person who's easily overstimulated by noises or loud sounds and just lots of humans and a big crowd of people. And I realized that those situations will come either way. So I will be in situations where I will be overwhelmed, and those situations will happen again. But if I make my life and the things that are in my control so easy for myself and for my nervous system, then it just makes my life better. So yeah, in this video I wanted to talk about things that I do to kind of simplify my life. One thing that I just recently found out that was good for me was, like, for a long time I didn't know what to do after I finished school. So I was just telling myself, like, I would go to university and I would just study something, and then I started to study social science, and I didn't know what I want to do with that. So I was just interested in that, and I was always like just knowing that I will find my way. But one thing that stressed me out, like unconsciously, was the fact that when people asked me what do you want to do, I never knew the answer. For a long time there were just kind of endless possibilities in my head what I could do, like, I don't know, marketing, journalism, recruiting, human resources, working in a company. A few days ago I realized that there are three main things that I want to do in my life, like in the working field. You are working towards those goals and you don't have the feeling of having endless possibilities, because in today's society, in my case in Germany, you have a lot of options and you have a lot of different ways you can go. I mean, it's a big privilege, but it can also be kind of draining and exhausting to know that you have so many possible ways to go. So if you just tend to have a focus in an area of your life and not just flop around in ideas that you have, so you just tell yourself, okay, I want to work with animals, I want to work with children, or I want to have a volunteering job besides my main job in the field of culture, for example, then you just have to work towards these three things, and you don't have too many options in your head, if that makes sense. So for example, when I started to study, I was just thinking about, like, maybe I could go into that field and that field or that field, and I was having lots of different modules, and it was always like a little mess in my head, and I didn't really know what I was working towards. So now that I have a clear vision of the field I want to work in, I can just kick everything out that doesn't have to do anything with that. The second thing that I also mentioned in my first video is to simplify your life by bringing back old things from your childhood, like in this case my Nintendo, and I'm playing I think it's Mario 3D Land again. Simplifying life about Nintendo is just that you have limited possibilities. So for example, in this case, you can just play this level and then you just have to continue playing this level until you can reach the next level. So for example, when I compare this Nintendo to my phone, I can just switch between these games, and then in the games there are also like limited possibilities. Like in Animal Crossing, you can do many things, but it's limited, and it's not like you have endless possibilities. So on your phone you can look for tons of information, which can also be good, but it can also be overwhelming. And when you just put your phone to the side, for example, or your iPad, where you have AI, where you have Google, where you can get pictures of everything, it's just overwhelming to have all of these possibilities because you could never use them. And having a Nintendo, you have just a little world that is complete and it's not continuing forever. So there is an ending and there are not endless possibilities. So I feel like it's kind of a way to simplify your life. Like, for example, sometimes I get lost on true crime on YouTube, and then I just watch true crime videos, and I just get information about some murder cases that I guess I never really wanted to know about. I also believe in energy and like positive or negative energy and law of attraction. And when you just surround yourself by negative things in any type of form, like negative news or murder cases or like some messed up shit that exists out there in the world, and you don't want to have it in your personal space. And you can also watch positive things on YouTube, and I also do that, but I feel like sometimes even the positive things on YouTube, for example, can just be overwhelming because you open so many tabs in your head. Like, for example, you watch a video about, I don't know, nature, and then you watch a video about how to write a diary, and then you watch a video about a morning routine, and then you watch a video about, I don't know, the gym. And then you watch a video about how to take care of your plant. Like a random example. All of those topics by itself, they are not negative, but so many thoughts are recreated in your head. And I sometimes feel like when I watch too much YouTube, it's like opening many tabs in my head, like just as on a laptop, and it's just an information overload. The third thing that I was starting to do was I realized that my to-do lists were very full. So I have my weekly plan in my analog planner or sometimes in my Notion. And I realized that I wrote down many tasks in my weekly plan that had no time limit. Like, for example, there's one thing that I really need to do to go to a university course. That's very important. And to do my driving license. So those are two important things that are already stressing me out enough. And then I just put so many other to-dos to that weekly plan. Like, for example, find a date where you can go hiking alone, or get a LinkedIn account. Or what I also wrote down was make a blackberry chia pudding. So that was just something that was coming to my mind one day. And I thought maybe I could make a blackberry chia pudding one day. And then I just wrote it down onto my daily list for the week. And I didn't do it for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I was just putting it off every week to the next week. And it was always like following me. This blackberry chia pudding was just in my weekly plan all the time. And I realized this thing stresses me out a little bit because I have no rush to do this pudding thing. So I decided to make a separate notebook where I just put to-dos that I don't need to do immediately and they have no rush and they don't need to be seen every day in my list. So I just have my most important tasks for the week in my weekly plan. But those to-dos like LinkedIn, so there's no rush for me to get a LinkedIn account, or something like meal prep ideas. I don't have to be on my weekly list all the time, so I have them now in this book. And I just feel like it's not so overwhelming when you just have maybe 3 to-dos for the day, like your most important to-dos. All of the other to-dos that have no time limit, you can just put them in a different book. And when you're done with your daily to-dos, then you can just be like, oh, I will have a look in my little book where there are things that I want to do, but I have no rush, and then you can just do them. And if you need to do more important things, then you can just put it away. And before that, I was always putting making a LinkedIn account into my weekly plan. And then it was just going from Monday to Wednesday to Sunday. And on Sunday, I realized, oh, I didn't do that again. And then it was just going to my new week. And then I also didn't do it. So I didn't want to overload my brain with to-dos. So yeah, that's a good tip for me, to have as less to-dos as possible in your list. One thing that I also do to simplify is to go away from media consumption that is just short-term, like shorts or reels or TikToks, I don't know. And if you just replace them with TV shows. So when you have a TV show, or like something like Gilmore Girls or Gossip Girl, or right now I'm watching Love on the Spectrum on Netflix. And I feel like, so I would say like TikTok or Instagram is just the simplest form of media consumption, so it's very short-term content. And then there's YouTube, which is kind of, they have longer videos. And I feel like sometimes I watch videos that take 5 minutes, sometimes videos that take 20 minutes, and they are like very different topics. And if I just stick to a TV show on, for example, Netflix or DVD, that would also be very cool. Then you just have, like also with the Nintendo thing, you just have a limited space. You cannot search up for different things all the time. So when you are kind of inside your TV show, you don't have to open new tabs in your head all the time. It's just one line that your brain has to follow. So I feel like it's also a good thing to fix the attention span that maybe kind of broke in some cases. Like when you watch lots of short-term content, then it's obvious, like also neurologically, that your brain changes and it's not good for your brain. I feel like if you just stick to a TV show, then that's better for your brain. Like it's not opening too many tabs. It's just like a fictional world in most cases. Like for Gilmore Girls, it's just like a little utopia and everything is fine. And sometimes we just need that, and we are not meant to see content that just puts us down. Like for example, in my case, I have recently been exposed to short-term content on my Instagram reels that had to do with the animal industry. And in my case, I follow a few vegan pages, and they just posted like the reality of the animal industry. And I was just laying in my bed And then I just saw a short of animal exploitation and violence, and I cannot see that. And I think I also don't deserve to see that because I don't support it. And it was just so draining for me. And if in that time I would just see like Gilmore Girls, then it would have been better. So yeah, I think if you watch some funny reels and you just send them to friends, it can also be funny. So it's not like not everything is bad about shorts. But if you replace short-term content with more long-term content, that's my tip, and your brain will thank you. So these were a few things that I did in the last few months that just simplified my life and made it more easy. And I feel like if I wouldn't do these things, then my head would be like much louder and I would be more stressed overall. So I try to implement going to my Nintendo more often than to social media because it's not harming my brain, I guess, when I do this for 20, 30 minutes a day. When you simplify your life like in a materialistic way, but also in a mental way, that you would just feel so much better and that you can just enjoy the important things even more, like having coffee, having a walk in the park, or seeing a bird flying. Like when you just have a more simplified brain or head, then it's just so much easier to see the good things in life.